But does poetry give us hope and healing?
I think absolutely it does. Yeah, it's a comfort. It makes sense of things, quite literally, using words, putting words to things that you may not be able to express yourself. So for me, it brings comfort and a sense of understanding.
And how does it do that?
I think there's something very special about poetry in that often it's in very neat little digestible sections that you can kind of dip in and out of.
Yeah.
It doesn't ask too much of you in terms of time, but it stays with you. And it's like a little companion that understands you and makes sense of something that you can't yourself.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like Hilary Mantel, is it? It's
No.
not like there's this kind of massive tome there waiting for you. It's something that is quite portable. And it's often in the form of an arrangement on a page, isn't it? Or an arrangement of sound patterns.
Yeah.
So I suppose it's something to do with making order out of chaos.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
it gives something to me and I don't feel like it's taking from me. I don't have to spend a lot of time deciphering what they're saying or trying to understand them. I feel they understand me.
Yeah. So these poems get you.
Yeah.
So they're empathetic in a way. And I suppose they relate to something that's recently been discovered called mirror neurons, where we see an emotion expressed in another human being or even an animal, actually, and then they fire neurons in our brain that make us feel similar emotion. It's a really massive insight in terms of the brain science. So I suppose our mirror neurons get fired in some way. We talked so far about us as recipients of poetry rather than creators, but of course in Llandailo we did this session with the fabulous Natalie, and this is what she had to say about her collection, Small.
And maybe Natalie, you could talk a little bit more about it and read from the collection for us. Welcome, Natalie.
Hi. Yeah, you mentioned that Small actually is quite a big voice, and I think that was the difficulty in so long was Small, it represents an eating disorder to me. And I found for years and years and years with traditional therapy, they often wanted to talk about like a part of your brain. They'd often ask, what is a part of your brain saying? I couldn't relate to it. And I'd become really frustrated because I felt like it was obviously it had a huge effect on me, but the thing itself was small. So I happened to be just going along on a run one day, and I realized that chattering in my head had suddenly gone quiet. And that's when I'm most at peace, is when I'm out in nature and I'm running. And I thought, I had this image of this small creature just bouncing along on my back, almost like a child just after a really bad tantrum. Because also when I wake up in the morning, it will, it's sort of like go for a run. And sometimes I need to sit down and be like, do I want to go for a run? Or is this Small shouting at me? And then I thought of this creature and I thought that's what it is. It's like a tantruming child that I have to deal with every day, because as much as I hate it, I can't leave it. It's still a part of my life. So I just turned it into a character. And then as soon as I got back to the writing desk after that run, I wrote Small in about 6 months, because it was just the voice that seemed natural to me.
Yeah.
And in some ways, that's what poetry does, doesn't it? It puts experience, which, if it's felt very deeply, we often find it quite difficult to articulate. If you think about how we react physically when we're traumatised, often we get a seizing up in the throat, a tightening in the chest. Our actual physical apparatus for speaking doesn't work terribly well. Yeah. So it moves the experience into words. Somebody called poetry, didn't they? Word music.
Yeah.
It makes that experience, puts it into words. And to some extent, then, I suppose it slightly removes the experience from us.
Yeah.
Because, words are the frame through which writers and avid readers often interpret their worlds a lot, aren't they? So it puts it into that definite frame.
Yeah. And at the same time, there is a possibility of moving through it. It literally is something you walk through.
Exactly, yeah. And of course, every civilization and every nation in the world creates poetry.